Hey everyone, today we're ranking the survivors by fashion or their cosmetics. I asked you all which characters you thought had the best drip, and this was the ranking we got. In this list, I'll be showing my favorite cosmetic set for each survivor in the corner too. Yoichi is our last place. I'm not too sure why. I'm actually a big fan of his jackets and his overall style. It's nothing special, but I do like it. Jonah came up next, and I do understand this one more, as a lot of his clothing options are fairly bland, and he lacks variety in lots of his clothing. Laurie is also fairly unsurprising, with her having only one other cosmetic due to her being from the 70s. She's also not as fashionable to a modern day audience, I think. Quentin came next, and honestly, he did well considering he's the only character in the game with no store cosmetics. His base look and his extra jacket though are pretty nice looking. Haddie is rated fairly low, and I kind of see why. She has mostly recolors and one other skin with a squid. I do like her style though, particularly the jackets she wears. Renato I think suffers from being fairly new and not having much available. He wears fairly basic clothes, but I do think the style suits him well. I personally also really like the colours and patterns, but I get why people aren't so big on this. Bill got surprisingly high for one of the more senior members of the realm. Despite his base outfit being basic, it does suit him and it fits in well with his beard to create the whole tough look. I think his tome outfit lets him down, with it being not the best looking and covered in blood. Tapp, I think this is a fair placement given that he's mostly just geared up in his detective or police gear, and his outfits lack a lot of variety. I do really like his brown leather jacket, and his grill out look is fun too. Thalita gets a bit higher than her brother, and I do think she is a bit more stylish, but also does suffer for similar reasons of not having many options at the moment. Nancy, I was surprised got this low down, as I think she has a bunch of different sets that fit her character very well. I particularly like her red jacket outfit, which is the outfit I think suits her the best. Maybe people are taking this from a perspective of the cosmetics no longer being in the store, which I would understand too. Claudette also wasn't rated so highly. She has some nice outfits I think. I particularly like the ones that are more science themed, and also her superhero outfit. She does have some more stylish and fashionable outfits too though. Gabriel got surprisingly high considering he's got no cosmetics currently aside his base look. With that said, he does look great in his base look, despite it just being built for function and engineering. Élodie was another character I was surprised to see so low, with her having lots of outfits that I think are quite fashionable and also quite varied. She does wear lots of expensive looking things, which is maybe a little too much at times. Jane is kind of the same deal. I feel like she has a lot of style, from her more casual looks to her more creative ones. They all look very fashionable I think. Personally I'm a fan of her different styles, but it's preference at the end of the day I guess. Adam, I was disappointed for being ranked so low, because I think he has some of the best style in the game, and has some really great outfits that fit him very well. Cheryl got a fairly decent rating, and I do think the outfits she has do fit her very well. Even her ugly sweater I think looks pretty fashionable. Her main downside is her lack of variety, with lots of her clothes being similar. Ash got really much higher than he should have gotten I think. He does have some nice clothing choices like his jacket and the holiday look he has. I guess he does also have his beautifully crafted artisan hand too, maybe that's why he's so high. Zarina I do agree deserves a high spot. She's got a bunch of cool cosmetics that all suit her very well. The more casual looks are still very fashionable but fitting for her, and the more colourful ones work well too. Jeff I was very happy to see so high. Jeff has some serious drip with his variety of clothing. His more metal looks in particular I really like, and are very unique with not many other characters having similar things. Yun-Jin I honestly think should have been a little higher. She has some more questionable outfits, but I kind of like them for that too, with them being more interesting and experimental. I personally really like the different looks she has, and think she's quite fashionable. Rebecca only has 2 outfits, so this one kind of surprises me. With that said, her Stars gear looks good, and so does her cowgirl outfit. I don't think she should be so high though, but I do think she looks fashionable given her limited options. Nia is another character with much more unique outfits compared to others, and although her style isn't so much my taste, I do think it fits her well, and is pretty fashionable in its own right, so I understand this placement completely. Meg is quite high, and this one surprised me a bit as she mostly has running outfits. I do think some of her looks are more stylish, but I think she tends to fit her running looks more, and it looks more natural and true to her character. Jake is fairly high up here, and I do think he has a lot of great looks. Even his more extreme and vibrant ones, I do think are pretty fashionable. I like lots of Jake's jackets and his different hairstyles and such too. Jill, I was fairly surprised to see so high, as she has mostly mission wear. Despite her STARS outfit being more formal though, it is a really great look and fits her well. Her base and casual looks are also pretty fashionable, so yeah, I get it. Vittorio. Personally, I'm not that big a fan of a lot of Vittorio's looks because they don't fit him at all really. The excuse of, oh, he found this modern stuff in the realm, I don't like either, and it seems like more of an excuse to just sell cosmetics. I'm a fan of the cosmetics that show off his tattoos, and the more medieval set they released in the tomes too. Leon, despite mainly having more practical outfits, has some really nice looks. I'm particularly a sucker for his RE4 look. I think it looks really amazing, although not the best in DBD. He has his smarter looks too, like his noir outfit. Dwight got higher than I thought he would. I'm personally of the opinion that he's one of the least fashionable survivors, with his outfits being goofier. I think he's not exactly meant to be the fashionable type. Hey, he does still have some cool looks though. Mikaela has a bunch of good cosmetics, and I do agree she has a lot of style, from her more classic witch looks to her casual clothes. Mikaela definitely has lots of style, and I like the themes of her outfits, which often have moons, cats, and stars. Felix is another character totally deserving of this high placement. This guy looks great in his suits, and is one of the more fashionable survivors I think, with his cool shades and a variety of different great outfits, with a few questionable ones. Ace deserves a high spot I think, with his insane amount of drip. This guy may be in debt by a lot, but at least he got some nice clothes whilst doing it. Feng, unsurprisingly, is rated quite highly. It's hard not to with just how many outfits Feng has. A lot of her outfits are quite samey, but they all do look very good and suit her well. Ada, despite her limited selection, does have some really nice outfits, with her 2 red dresses and her cool trench coat look too. She doesn't have much variety, but I agree that she does have a lot of style. Steve is one I think is mainly down to people having favour with the character, because his cosmetics are all fairly samey and aren't exactly peak fashion, depending on who you ask. I think Steve got voted for a lot because he just kind of looks good in anything, even when he's wearing rubber gloves and some goggles. David came higher than I expected. He does have one of the better cosmetic ranges though, and even in the lore, he's a model, so it does make a lot of sense. Yui is coming in at second, and I think she really deserves it. Yui has a lot of style, and a variety of cool cosmetics ranging from more formal wear to her biker gear. All of it looks really great and suits her well. However, in our number 1 spot is Kate. Kate was the survivor with the highest rated cosmetics and fashion though. Yeah, I'm not against this pick to be honest. She has some of the most varied cosmetics, most of them looking very good and fitting her character well. Alright, well that's gonna do it. I do hope you enjoyed. Thanks, and goodbye.